This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
The time is 1:15. Here is the news edited by Ramesh Piris, read by Victor Raj. Here are the headlines of the local news. The President Gotabaya Rajapaksa instructs to commence vaccination of school children from October 21st. Interprovincial travel ban extended. The Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa says the teachers have the heart to revive the education of children who were confined in the COVID pandemic. The accelerated vaccination drive continues across the island today. Sri Lanka records 772 new positive cases for the novel coronavirus amid 44 fatalities. All grades in schools to reopen by November. The Minister of Agriculture empowers the state fertilizer companies to distribute phosphate fertilizer. The government to prioritize the importation of electric cars. International news. The US calls for imminent return to nuclear talks with Iran. Sports cricket. The second T20 between Sri Lanka and Oman tomorrow. Local news in detail. The President Gotabaya Rajapaksa instructed to commence vaccination of school children from October 21st. The President's media division stated that the COVID Eradication Committee has decided to extend the prevailing interprovincial travel ban until 21st of October, when committee met at the Presidential Secretariat this morning. Meanwhile, the Army Commander General Shavendra Silva stated that the authorities will start vaccinating of students aged between 18 and 19 at their respective schools under the first stage with the Pfizer vaccine. The Army Commander further stated that school leavers in the 18 and 19 age group category can get their vaccines from Area Medical Officer for Health. He added that the first stage of vaccination will be done following the instructions of the President to vaccinate all children aged 15 and 19. The Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa has said that as a government that protects the dignity of teachers, it is ready to listen to the just demands of the teachers. The Prime Minister called on the teachers to think about their dignity and the hard-earned respect during trade union struggles and engage in the procedure of imparting knowledge to our children. The Prime Minister made this observation when he joined in the function held in conjunction with the World Teachers' Day organized by the Ministry of Education via video technology to express its well-wishes to the teachers. For the first time, the Ministry of Education has made arrangements to issue identity cards to the teachers in parallel to Teachers' Day. Speaking at the occasion, the Premier said teachers have the heart to revive the education of children who were confined to the COVID pandemic. The expeditious vaccination drive conducted by the Ministry of Health is in operation today. Over 196 vaccination clinics are in operation across the island. For more details on the vaccination clinics operating in your local area and the type of vaccines administered can be obtained from the official website of the Health Ministry, www.health.gov.lk. Meanwhile, 108,573 individuals were administered vaccines doses against the coronavirus yesterday. Hence, 12,123,409 individuals have been fully vaccinated in Sri Lanka thus far, while a total of 26,791,620 vaccine doses have been administered. The epidemiology unit of the Health Ministry says the daily total of new COVID-19 cases moved to 772 yesterday as 134 more people were tested positive for the virus. This brings the tally of the coronavirus infections confirmed in the country so far to 523,550. More than 31,500 active cases are currently under medical care at hospitals, treatment centers and homes. Total recoveries from the virus infected reached 478,761 earlier today, as 435 more patients were discharged from medical care upon returning to health. Meanwhile, 44 new COVID-related fatalities confirmed by the Director General of Health Services, increasing the total official death toll to 13,229. This news comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
Get a personal loan for your marriage, education or housing within 24 hours with People's Bank Digital Banking.
Continuing with more local news, the State Minister of Education Reforms, Susil Premjanta, stated that steps will be taken to start all grades in schools by November. Accordingly, it will be launched in 4 phases from 21st of October. He added that children should then be given some time to prepare for the exams. The State Minister further mentioned that an assessment is being carried out to find out the extent to which the curriculum has been covered during the period when the schools were open. However, Minister Premjanta said, despite the various requests, there will be no change in standards of the advanced level examination for university admissions. The government has decided to prioritize the importation of electric cars when the import of vehicle resumes in future. The Ministry of Environment said the decision will be reached as a measure to reduce air pollution. The Minister said the cabinet paper in this regard has also been approved. The government is also considering the use of electric-powered low-flow buses for passenger transport. At present, the maximum distance that can electric vehicle travel after charging is between 300 to 350 kilometers. Therefore, attention has been focused on importing cars that travel up to 550 km per charge. The Environment Minister said attention has also been drawn to increase the number of charging stations. Currently, the private sector has approximately 400 charging stations in various locations, while the need to increase the number by another 350 was highlighted. The Speaker Mahinda Yapa Abeyewardena today endorsed the certificate on the Petroleum Resources Bill. The bill was taken for debate in Parliament on the 6th and was passed without a vote. The bill seeks to establish the Petroleum Development Authority to formulate a national policy on the emissions petroleum industry and to enact provisions relating to the maximum economic value of local petroleum resources through modern exploration, development, production and management practices in Sri Lanka and related matters. Accordingly, the Petroleum Resources Act No. 21 of 2021 will come into effect from today. The State Minister of Public Security, Sarath Veerasekara, issuing a statement, confirmed the promotion of 225 Chief Inspectors of Police to the rank of Assistant Superintendent of Police. This is the first time in the history 225 Chief Inspectors of Police have been promoted to the rank of ASP at once. Meanwhile, for the first time in Sri Lanka, 3 female police officers have been promoted as Deputy Inspector General of the same day. The 3 senior superintendents of police were promoted to the rank of DIG with immediate effect. SSPs Renuka Jayasundara, Nishanti Seneviratna and Padmini Veerasurya were promoted with the approval of the Minister of Public Security. Sri Lanka at present has 3 female DIGs. The Western Province Department of Motor Traffic announced on the vehicle revenue license that expire from 12th August 2021 to 31st October 2021 can be renewed without a penalty until the 30th of November 2021. The commissioner of the Provincial Department of Motor Traffic issuing a statement said after the quarantine curfew was lifted on the 1st of October 2021, the issuing of revenue license at the department head offices exceeded the daily capacity. The foreign minister stated that the Sri Lankan community in the Sultanate of the Oman donated a consignment of medical equipment including ICU beds to treat COVID-19 patients. Sri Lankan quantity surveyors, fraternity, bankers and other professionals in Oman were the contributors to this donation, which will be distributed to hospitals. The donation from the Sri Lankan community in Oman was handed over at a ceremony held at the Foreign Ministry in Colombo. Foreign Secretary Admiral Professor Jayanta Kolumbege handed over the donation to State Minister of Production, Supply and Regulation of Pharmaceuticals Professor Channa Jayasumana and Secretary of the State Ministry Dr. R.M.S.K. Ratnayaka. The Ambassador of Sri Lanka to Oman, O.L. Amiraj Ward, and the staff of the embassy coordinated the donation and arranged for its dispatch to Sri Lanka. That ends local news.
Get a personal loan for your marriage, education or housing within 24 hours with People's Bank Digital Banking. People's Bank Digital Banking, your ultimate convenience.
A mother knows the pain of each member of the family. Siddhalepa, the trusted relief for aches and pains.
An effective therapy for relief from cold, sneezing, flu, headaches, swelling due to toothaches, rheumatic, discomforts, and muscular aches and pains. Siddhalepa, the Vidya Mahatmya in every home.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vidya Mahatmya.
The Minister of Agriculture has decided to give the power to distribute phosphate fertilizers to state fertilizer companies. The Minister of Agriculture announced that these instructions were given by the Agriculture Minister Mahindananda Alutgamage at the Progress Review meeting of the phosphate company. The minister has instructed the management of the company to prepare a program to provide fertilizer to the farming community at a reasonable price by using the two state fertilizer companies as the official agents for the distribution of phosphate fertilizers. Accordingly, the minister added that employees of the Varipula Fertilizer Distribution Company, which is currently not in operation, can be attached to the main fertilizer factory and earn more income by maintaining its operations efficiently. That ends main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vidya Mahatmya.
Brush your teeth twice a day for healthy teeth and gums. Supiriviki and Kakulu, your trusted brands in oral care for many years.
Supiriviki Ayurvedic toothpaste for adults. Kakulu Ayurvedic toothpaste for kids. 9 Ayurvedic ingredients of Supiriviki will protect your teeth and strengthen your gums. Supiriviki and Kakulu, products from Siddhalepa.
And now in Watchlight.
The Public Health Inspectors Union says after having relaxed the quarantine curfew, it has been observed that health guidelines and practices are being disregarded. The PHI Union pointed out that people are not adhering to health practices properly when using public transport and visiting places. The union also added that precautionary health facilities are not effectively maintaining at some workplaces. Hence, the union urged people to be more responsible when venturing outside and should contribute to prevent any COVID cluster from emerging. That ends Watchlight.
World News.
World News headlines first. The US calls for imminent return to nuclear talks with Iran. Palestinians reject Israeli ruling on Jewish prayer at Al-Aqsa. Tanzania's Abdul Razak Gurna wins 2021 Nobel Prize in Literature. World News in detail. The Biden administration has called for an imminent return to talks in Vienna to revive the Iran nuclear deal. but said a resumption of the negotiations is hanging on the Iranians. State Department spokesperson Ned Price told reporters that Washington is willing to continue the talks as soon as Tehran agrees to re-engage in the negotiations, stressing that the path to diplomacy is still open. Negotiations have been on ice since June, shortly after the election of Iran's conservative president Ebrahim Raisi. The 2015 multilateral nuclear deal, known as the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, saw Iran scale back its nuclear program in exchange for lifting international sanctions against its economy. A landmark ruling by an Israeli court in favor of Jews praying at the Al-Aqsa Mosque complex has stoked the Palestinians' fears for Jewish encroachment over Jerusalem's holiest site. Palestinians denounced on Thursday a decision by an Israeli magistrate court not to regard prayer by the Jewish worshippers as a criminal act if it remains silent, which upends a long-standing agreement whereby Muslims worship at Al-Aqsa while Jews worship at the nearby Western Wall. Palestinian Prime Minister Mohammed Ibrahim Steyr has called on the United States to fulfill its pledges to preserve the status quo of the compound and for Arab nations to stand in solidarity with Palestinians. The Tanzanian author Abdul Razak Ghana has won the 2021 Nobel Prize in Literature. The prestigious prize was awarded on Thursday by the Swedish Academy, which cited Ghana's uncompromising and compassionate penetration of the effects of the colonialism and the fate of the refugee in the gulf between cultures and continents. Born in Zanzibar and based in England, Ghana recently retired as a professor of post-colonial literature at the University of Kent. Ghana got the call from the Swedish Academy in the kitchen of his home in southeast England. To wrap up the world news, let's take a look at the headlines once again. The U.S. calls for imminent return to nuclear talks with Iran. Palestinians reject Israeli ruling on Jewish prayer at Al-Aqsa. Tanzania's Abdul Razak Ghana wins 2021 Nobel Prize in Literature. That ends world news.
And now in development news.
The Prime Minister has inaugurated important milestones of the Jaffna-Kilinochchi water supply project, which aims to provide safe drinking water to the population of the city of Jaffna and its surrounding urban and rural areas. The Prime Minister's office said in a statement the project was jointly financed by the Asian Development Bank and the Sri Lankan government. Further, the statement read, the $226 million Jaffna-Kilinochchi water supply project is expected to provide safe piped water to 186 Gram and Niladhara divisions by 2025, benefiting more than 300,000 people in 122,000 families in northern Sri Lanka. The construction of the Thalaya DC water treatment plant and the Jaffna City Water Distribution Network, two important milestones of the Jaffna-Kilinochchi water supply project, was remotely inaugurated by the Prime Minister on Wednesday from the temple trees. That ends development news.
Sports news.
The second T20 international between Sri Lanka and Oman will be played in Muscat tomorrow. The Sri Lankan team is touring Oman as a rehearsal for the T20 World Cup. Sri Lanka must also qualify for the Super League round for the T20 World Cup this year. Sri Lanka will play against Namibia on 18th October, against Ireland on 20th October and against Netherlands on 22nd October. Sri Lanka won the first T20 convincingly with Avisco Fernando and Dashun Shanaka put on an unbroken partnership of 111 runs. That ends sports news.
Cash through NSB globally and win wonderful gifts locally. Will you be the lucky winner of the NSB Golden Jubilee? 50 gold sovereigns for the top prize winner of the NSB Golden Jubilee. Scooters for the 10 second prize winners. iPhones for the 10 third prize winners. Mountain bikes for the 29 fourth prize winners. From October 1st, 2021 to September 30th, 2022. Remit a minimum of $100 or an equivalent amount in any foreign currency through NSB U Trust for 6 months consecutively. Send more money and increase the chances of winning.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Recognized for paving the way for the professional excellence in the corporate world, the SLIIT Business School launched virtually its inaugural edition of its first ever research journal, SLIIT Business Review, to the distinguished audience recently. To be published biannually, the SLIIT Business Review is a double-blind referred journal with an objective to serve as the platform for faculty, research scholars and practitioners of the business management and allied disciplines to highlight new knowledge, innovation, use of technology and the application of the latest research tools in business and management. The SLIIT Business Review also seeks to bridge gaps between business management theories and practices. That ends Business News.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Cash through NSB globally and win wonderful gifts locally. Will you be the lucky winner of the NSB Golden Jubilee? 50 gold sovereigns for the top prize winner of the NSB Golden Jubilee. Scooters for the 10 second prize winners. iPhones for the 10 third prize winners. Mountain bikes for the 29 fourth prize winners.
Weather report.
The Department of Meteorology forecasts several spells of light showers to occur in the western, Sabaragamuwa, central and northwestern provinces and in the Gol and Mathura districts. Showers or thunder showers may occur at a few places in the Ibu province and in the Batiklu and Ampara districts during the afternoon or in the evening. The Met Department predicts wind speed can increase up to 50 kilometers per hour at times in the western slope of the Central Hills, northern and north central provinces and in the Trincomalee district. Further showers or thunder showers will occur at several places in the sea area extending from Kankasanture to Hambantota via Putlam, Colombo and Gol. Moving on to economic news, the Asia Development Bank and the government of Sri Lanka today signed a loan agreement for $110 million in addition financing to support the ongoing health sector enhancement project, which is improving the primary health care system in the country. The loan will be supplemented by a $3 million grant from the ADB's Japan Fund for Prosperous and Resilient Asia and the Pacific that will finance expenditures related to the renovation of ambulance stations, procurement of ambulances and training for pre-hospital service personnel. That ends economic news and wrap up the afternoon news broadcast on Radio Sri Lanka. Let's take a look at the headlines once again. The President Gotabaya Rajapaksa instructs to commence vaccination of the school children from October 21st. Inter-provincial travel ban extended. The Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa says the teachers have the heart to revive the education of children who were confined to the COVID pandemic. The accelerated vaccination drive continues across the island today. Sri Lanka records 772 new positive cases for the novel coronavirus amid 44 fatalities. All grades in school to reopen by November. The Minister of Agriculture empowers the state fertilizer companies to distribute phosphate fertilizer. The government to prioritize the importation of electric cars. International news, the US calls for the imminent return to nuclear talks with Iran. Sports news, cricket. The second T20 between Sri Lanka and Oman will be played tomorrow. That ends the afternoon news broadcast on Radio Sri Lanka.